to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the virtual floor.
Thank you, Rolika, and good morning to you. Good morning to your colleagues. Good morning to the Deputy Prime Minister. Good morning to my colleague ministers. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. This morning, I would like to inform the public of the following. Previously, schools were advised to use the space at schools optimally to maximize the amount of students returning to the classroom. Realizing that reaching the situation where the number of active cases is zero will take a long time, and understanding that having students for long periods away from school puts them at risk of falling behind, which could affect their education. All schools are thereby advised to proceed to returning to normal, which is approach 4. According to approach 4 in the education continuity plan, regular school hours and in-class instructions will apply. Schools are advised to maintain proper hygiene and sanitation protocols and strict adherence to the of this will be surveillance by the Public Health Ministry, Social Development and Labor, as well as by schools. In addition, CPS advises that all school children age 5 and older and staff continue to wear masks at all times indoors and that spaces be well ventilated. In addition to adhering to the recommendations and guidelines of Approach 4 of the St. Martin Plan for Education Continuity, stakeholders are advised the following. To adopt the relaxed distancing requirement for children in school from 6 feet to 3 feet according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, thus allowing more students to be inside of the classroom. Teachers and other adult staff must still adhere to the 6 feet guidelines and face coverings remain mandatory. The enforcement of Approach 4 commences as of Monday, April 12, 2021. Parents are to take note that details regarding education continuity for your child or children will be shared by their respective schools. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all parents for their continued effort and support in mitigating the spread of COVID-19, and would like to remind all parents to continue to educate and remind your child or children daily on the health and safety protocols while out in the public and in school. Trusting to have informed you sufficiently for today. I remain for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, and the Acting Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Ludmila De Wever, to address you. Minister De Wever, you have the virtual floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to my colleagues, Deputy PM, Prime Minister, members of the media, the viewing and listening public. I will start off with the announcements from the Ministry of ASA in the absence of Minister Panafleck, who is due to be back today, later on today. As of April 6, 2,164 persons had a laboratory confirmed COVID-19 infection. To date, there have been 2,102 persons that have recovered from COVID-19 and 27 persons have passed away. There are currently 35 cases that are actively being monitored by CPS. Due to the holidays, the number of persons coming forward for testing was low. The COVID-19 case numbers are likely an underrepresentation. However, there was a doubling in the numbers over the last 2 weeks of March, with an uptake of approximately 5 new cases per day. Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao are still experiencing high COVID-19 transmission. The underlying cause of this increase in cases is believed to be the significant number of the UK variant cases reported in all 3 islands to date. The UK variant is identified and recognized globally as a variant of concern. According to the CDC, this variant is 50% more infectious and causes more severe diseases and hospitalization, a more severe version of the virus and hospitalizations, as we have seen in our sister islands. I am encouraging the general public to register for the vaccine through our online portal or by visiting select locations to pick up a paper registration form. Paper forms are located at the Government Administration Building, all doctors' offices, at CPS at the Vineyard Building, and all pharmacies. The Community Help Desk in Dutch Quarter, Cole Bay, and the vaccination location at CPS and Bel Air can also accommodate persons who would like to register directly at each location. For any questions or concerns, please call CPS at 914 or email vaccination@stmartingov.org. Let us join together to get vaccinated to keep St. Martin healthy and safe for our population and visitors. In addition, it is imperative to stay vigilant and adhere to the COVID protocols. It was concerning to see the number of persons congregating in large numbers without the proper protocols over the weekend. Wearing your mask at all times, washing or sanitizing your hands often, wiping down frequently used surfaces, and maintaining 2 meters distance remains relevant if we want to keep our numbers down. Safety is in the first instance a personal responsibility. We have said that from day one, but it is also a civic responsibility. Businesses are responsible for ensuring that their clientele can remain safe. We remind all to adhere to the measures. Do not let your guards down. COVID-19 remains rampant in the region, in the US, as well as Europe, and we need to keep our community safe. As of Monday, April 6th, 2021, St. Martin has provided 11,040 vaccines. Currently, there are 11,895 persons who have registered to receive the vaccine. CPS Vineyard office and Bel Air continue to offer COVID-19 vaccinations to persons interested on weekdays. Today, we celebrate World Health Day. The theme for this year is building a fairer, healthier world. It is an opportunity to promote and seek to build a collaboration and partnerships to build a fairer and healthier world. As COVID-19 has highlighted, some people are able to live healthier lives and have better access to health services than others, entirely due to certain conditions, which, if we work together, can be addressed and improved. Thank you very much, and I will move on to make the announcements from the Ministry of TEAT. Before I do so, I would like to inform the public that on Friday, on Good Friday just passed, the Council of Ministers had several emergency meetings that day and over the weekend to respond to the situation in our sister islands, which is very dire indeed. It is our decision from those meetings last week that we have come to the assistance of our sister islands, and we have agreed to receive their non-COVID-19 patients so as to make their beds available for the serious persons that they have in their hospital. As such, even though there is a grave situation going on in our sister islands, it does not mean that St. Martin is free from it. When, like you heard earlier on, when you see the behaviors over the weekend, it is unfortunate that we have now had to take a decision that is preventive in nature, not reactive. And we have decided, after much deliberation since Friday up until our last Council of Ministers meeting yesterday, that the best thing to do for the safety of our public is to assist our sister islands, receive their patients, as well as decide that we are going to scale back business hours of nightlife businesses. The date that this will go into effect will be next week, April 14th. And it is unfortunate that we have to do this. I have been an advocate from day one for us to open our airport, to open our businesses, but we have to do so in a responsible manner. We cannot wait until we have an outbreak on this island. We have to be preventive. We have to prepare as if something is going to happen. And don't forget that for the last several weeks, St. Martin has been doing a fantastic job of our vaccination rollout. We do not have the resources to accommodate a massive outbreak of the UK variant, similar to what we have seen in our sister islands, that is now causing us to come to their assistance because they are brothers and sisters. We cannot afford that. We need to be responsible. We need to be firm in our decision making. And this is only temporary. This is an action that is necessary for us to keep our country safe. All the announcements will come out after this. And I would like the public to keep in mind that we have a very busy summer season coming up starting June. It is better that we prevent any further spread. Changing. Part of that rating is to...
Minister Weaver, if you can hear us, you went out for a bit. We lost about 30 to 45 seconds of what your opening statements just were.
Oh, crap. Well, can you just let me know the last thing you heard, Ms. Roach? Because it's important that I repeat this so that the public sees it. I mean, here's it.
Basically, you were explaining that it's unfortunate that we have to scale back. So I think you should start from there and proceed.
That's not a problem. That's what happens when you ad lib and you start feeling all the passion of what we have to do in this very, very difficult decision making. It is unfortunate that we do have to scale back. I have been the advocate from day one of us being open. At the current situation now, with the increasing cases in our sister islands, the fact that our behaviors have actually left a lot to be desired in terms of our following our protocols has led us to make this decision. The public should become aware that St. Martin will be, their travel advisory for St. Martin will be increased to a do not travel, potentially from the US, the State Department, and we are trying to work actively on that. It is a reassessment that is happening globally. That all of this is taken part of why we have made this very hard decision to scale back businesses to midnight. It wasn't a rollback to 2 a.m. It was a rollback to midnight to send a strong signal that we have to continue to be responsible in our behavior. We have been so lucky to be open for so long. And the case of 35 numbers this weekend doesn't begin to say that we're actually going back down. It means let's maintain it. We do so by preventive action. And this will go on for 2 weeks minimum. And we will see how things are then before we can consider reversing and reverting back to what our normal was. But the public should be aware that we need to maintain those protocols we had in place when we opened businesses and try to keep our country safe, especially while we are receiving our sister island persons to our hospitals. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, to address you. Minister Richardson, you have the virtual floor.
Good morning, Deputy Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, and the listening and viewing public. To further reiterate the advisory and sentiments of my colleague Minister of TEAT and Interim Minister of VSA, Mr. Weaver, with the steps and measures that are being activated as a precautionary approach in light of the alarming situation on Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao as it relates to the increased number of COVID cases, and so much so deaths. Over the Easter weekend, there were a number of events held where it was observed that patrons were not wearing masks, not practicing social distancing. As such, the Ministries of VSA, TEAT, and Justice will be stepping up controls or joint controls on various portfolio items to include the ensuring of and adherence to COVID-19 regulations. In addition to the going forward, permit requests for events will be looked at more closely. Organizers and promoters of events are reminded to please ensure you have received an approved permit before you begin to advertise your event and sell tickets. Established social venues will also be highly monitored to ensure public safety is being enforced, which remains a top priority. Happy World Health Day to our healthcare workers, heroes, sheroes, and all. I thank you for the time, Ms. Roach, and I remain available for any questions.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, to address you. Deputy Prime Minister Duran, you have the virtual floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning, colleague ministers, members of the media, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. I have a brief update with respect to the Ministry of Romi. The garbage schedule was published last week, and it was published again today in the newspaper. So we did receive several notices or notifications from persons within the community with respect to certain bins being moved and so forth. I urge the general public to pay attention to the schedule, and there's also contact information for the respective contractor that is busy in your district, so that you can make your concerns known if there are any, so that we can address them as a ministry on a whole. That will be all for the Ministry of Romi. Today, in my capacity as a Deputy Prime Minister, I'd like to render an update on the travel restrictions that were implemented from the ABC Islands to St. Martin. As was previously mentioned, as of April 5th, the government of St. Martin implemented travel restrictions from the ABC Islands to St. Martin, which went into effect as a recommendation by our healthcare professionals due to the highly concentrated pools of the UK variant. Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao are experiencing a high COVID-19 transmission and have recorded a significant number of cumulative UK variant cases to date. As such, returning residents from Bonaire, Curacao, and Aruba will be required to hold a negative 72-hour PCR test and are advised to be retested 48 hours after arrival. The ministries of TIAD, VSA, and Justice stepped up their control to ensure the adherence of the COVID-19 public health safety protocols. Also to the adherence of the COVID-19 health and safety protocols, specifically in light of the parties that took place during the Easter holidays. This decision was also taken during an emergency Council of Ministers meeting that was held last week Friday, Good Friday, as a result of the major COVID-19 outbreak on the islands that I mentioned before. The business community is asked to follow their COVID-19 Safe Framework Business Reopening Workplace Plan that were submitted last summer regarding the operations. Employees and customers are expected to wear masks and practice social distancing. In the case of events, crowd control measures must be in place, and also compliance is expected with parties that have been marketed. Controls will also be carried out and warnings given based on the observation of the controllers after observing large gatherings in the crowds. With respect to the COVID-19 vaccine, all residents of St. Martin are encouraged to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Visit the Government of St. Martin website. The paper versions are also available at the pharmacies and also available in Creole, English, and Spanish. I would like to remind the general public that our behavior is what will stop the spread of COVID-19. I ask you to do not become complacent and let your guard down in our efforts to curb the rise in cases and also protect our lovely island, our community on a whole, and also to build back our economy. It is very important, and I want the Minister of TIA touched on it. It is very important to remind the general public that our sustainability, our lifeline is dependent on our behavior. So we could be cautious now, take preventative measures to hurry up, build back our economy. I would like to urge you to keep your loved ones safe, take into consideration those of us that have underlying sicknesses, and also do not get comfortable. COVID-19 is real. We see the several surges that start back, and we have to safeguard and make sure that we do not end up in that situation as well. I would like to say, God bless the people of St. Martin, and I look forward to any questions that members of the media might have. Thank you very much, Ms. Roach.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister Duran. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. The virtual floor is open, and Bibi Shah of SMN News, you have the floor.
Good morning, Relaika, and thank you. My questions, I want to start off with the Minister of TIAC, and at the same time, if the Deputy Prime Minister can weigh in, I'd appreciate it very much. Minister De Wever, over the weekend, I've seen a number of videos. I mean, unbelievable what is taking place in the Simpson Bay area and certain nightclubs with the amount of people, even though you're hearing it's open air, with the spread that is taking place in our neighboring islands. What have your department, because the Ministry of TIAC, Justice and VSR sent out a press release and said there would have been controls over the Easter weekend, yet I see all these videos. What, if any, actions were taken against these businesses?
Thank you, Ms. Hodshaw, for the question. I can confirm very confidently that the controllers were out this weekend, to the annoyance of some business owners. But the controllers are not there to annoy people. The controllers are there to do their job, which is to keep our country safe. And that is what has been going on over the entire weekend. Actually, right now, as of yesterday, we agreed again to continue having the cooperation between VSA inspectors, TEAT inspectors, and the CAPASM to continuously go out now and continue doing their job and ramp up efforts even more. I am happy that, we all had the opportunity to see how long we could go with behaviors being unchanged. And unfortunately, what happened this weekend, we could not stay silent about knowing what is happening elsewhere. So the controls will continue to go on. Unfortunately, now we have decided that we are going to close at midnight as a result of the behaviors being unchecked. And there is a lot of responsibility that we expect from individuals living in a pandemic, especially when you see what is going on in the rest of the world, that you would take it upon yourself to do the right thing and not congregate. Unfortunately, in addition to the videos you referred to, Ms. Hodshaw, what you saw is some places were over capacity. Some places were not practicing social distance. They were not minimizing the crowds. And, this is why we are at the situation we are in today. We're doing this not to make unpopular decisions. We're doing this to keep our country safe. That is what everyone needs to understand. That is the reason for this decision. If further action needs to be taken, we are willing to do that, but it is all for the safety of our country in mind. Again, I will reiterate, we are preparing for an unprecedented busy summer. We have an opportunity of home porting in St. Martin at a level that we had never seen before. So we don't want, now that we are going to go to a level 4 do not travel advisory from the US State Department and CDC, I said, you don't really want to make this worse for us to June, so that you put our taxi drivers again at a disadvantage, our tour bus operators, our charter companies, our restaurants, every activity that they do when they come to the island. And I will not put that at risk, which is why this is the most responsible thing that we could have done. Thank you, Ms. Hodshaw.
All right, Minister, I think you misunderstood my question. I never said the controllers were of annoyance to businesses or anyone. What I'm asking you, what actions were taken? Were these businesses fined? I can see the videos. Yes, overcapacitated, and in fact, they are jeopardizing our economy. So I'm not against what is done. I want to know what was done. What fine was given to these people?
Actually, Ms. Hodshaw, what has been going on is basically controls, observations of locations, as well as records and PVs, warnings being issued. That is what happened. And when I said annoyance, is because we received complaints from businesses that the controllers were doing their jobs. And anyone that has any complaints to make, they can always send it to the Ministry of TEAT, and we will always give it 100% of our time and our attention. But the public needs to realize that we are just trying to keep you safe. That's what we are doing. So we will continue to go out, Ms. Hodshaw, and it will escalate. So it will be either if businesses, the ministerial regulation, I forgot to mention, is still in effect. So that ministerial regulation is basically gives TEAT again the authority to scale back the times. It also gives the Ministry of VSA to the authority to ensure that or enforce the social distancing guidelines, hand sanitizing, all the things that we did in order to open back up our businesses after the lockdown. We do not want to go to a lockdown. This is the reason for this action. It is unfortunate, but it is very much required at this moment to keep our place safe. Thank you, Ms. Hadshaw.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the virtual floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to the Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice, we're going to speak about immigration today. Minister, you will alarm that the heated vexation that are pointing to you with immigration. Minister, you need to clear this. You need to wet this fire down with water by explaining to the people that this is not a personal matter towards the people, especially the people from the Dominicano Republic, Santo Domingo. They are very angry, Minister. So clear the air and let them understand how the justice system works and immigration.
Good morning, Mr. Brown. I was in Parliament last Wednesday, I believe it was. I spent quite a few hours in Parliament. I always give a very detailed presentation with quite a good number of information, statistics. I provided details about the number of applications, over 3,000 plus applications that have been approved. A number of 574, I believe, out of the 4,000 plus that were requested were declined. We even elucidated and gave a breakdown as to the various nationalities of applicants that were declined to ensure we show that there are no discrimination or there is no discrimination. I think that, and I've said this from way before, the laws are here in this country. The challenge that we have is that for a very long time, they have not been enforced. Much scrutiny has not been done in the way that applications have been reviewed according to the way it is stipulated by law. And so when you start to enforce those, you uncover certain practices that are unlawful, and you start to take measures that are guided by the law. You start to take actions, and then persons create a phenomenon. Social media gives a very wide opportunity to create an impression that one's human rights are being infringed on. You are taking illegal steps and measures, and that can be tested through our court system if so desired. In some instances, that has been challenged, and rightfully so, it has been granted or decisions have been reversed. We also have an appeal system within the Ministry of Justice Immigration Department. One of the things that I've said to my department is we need to start to produce our responses in the English language, because I believe that the barrier of Dutch or not being able to clearly understand what is being communicated to you, such as having the option to appeal a decision. Most persons will go off to an attorney and spend a whole lot of money when they could have simply requested to appeal the decision, be further educated as to the reason that their request has been denied, and have a subsequent opportunity to resubmit. But a lot of those opportunities are lost because individuals are just not used to the approach that the Immigration Department is taking now, and myself as minister ensuring that we follow the law as it is prescribed. A lot of steps and measures are being taken, and one of the things that I must say is I appreciate the opportunities where loopholes or grievances are expressed, because it gives us an opportunity to be able to improve our services. And in some instances, that does not play favor to certain applicants. But I assure you, this is nothing personal. This is just a matter of, as minister, I have a portfolio that is very extensive to execute, and I have stand by my position that I will do so according to the framework of the law. This is nothing personal. Thank you, Mr. Brown, sorry.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, and thank you, Lyndon, for the question. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Socran of Island 92 Radio. You have the virtual floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Erlika, and good morning to everyone who is in attendance. I'd like to address this question, if I might, to Minister DeWeaver, Minister Richardson, and Minister Duran. I'd like to hear your opinion. First of all, let me begin by commending you on the very hard decision to scale back the business hours. From my vantage point, bravo, hard decision, and you certainly have my respect and support for that difficult decision. And we said that decision, the scaling back of business hours, would be effective the 14th of April. And here we sit on April 7th, and that's a week away. And knowing how fast COVID, especially the variant, can spread, why are we waiting a week to implement such a rollback? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sock. Very valid question. It's the same thing that we have been speaking about since Friday. Unfortunately, we have allowed our businesses, to those that have the correct permit to allow them to be open up until 4 a.m., have brought on their staff. So now we had people that were employed up until that hour. So it gives them time to reshuffle their schedule and see how they will be able to place their staff members on a rotating schedule. That is, it gives us time to prepare. That's why we said we need minimum 1 week, because I will not make an abrupt decision of going from one day to the next. The thing is that week's notice comes as a warning. We can make a decision to do it earlier. That means that behavior up until that period should be curbed. Any marketing of mass gatherings and parties should be curbed, i.e. should be stopped. And you need to control, business owners need to control their crowds. Business owners need to ensure their staff is wearing a mask. Business owners need to be as responsible as the individual going around this island, thinking and knowing to ourselves that COVID-19 is still here. Our sister islands are suffering because of it. We do not want to get to that point. So that is why we give 1 week's notice. And we actually are very much in the position to do it with immediate effect if behavior does not remain unchanged. That is it in a nutshell. Thank you very much, Dr. Sock.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Dr. Sock, for the question. We now move on to the second round. Bibi Hatshaw, you have the floor.
Oh.
Before we continue, Deputy Prime Minister Duran.
I think Dr. Sock posed a question to Minjust and myself for a reaction, and I really wanted to highlight a couple points as well, although the Minister of Tea had wrapped it up in a nutshell. As a minister, I'll just use my portfolio for example. I'm the Minister of Infrastructure, Public Housing, Environment, and so forth, right? Of course, I want to secure the economy, I want to secure investors, so that's where you try to secure investment for hotels and structures and different things. But at the same time, as the Minister of Environment, I have to make sure that the environment is intact. We are faced with certain decisions. These are unprecedented times. This is not normal times. No government in the world, nobody in this lifetime has ever had to deal with a situation like this. Are some decisions worth correcting? Of course. Do we learn from our mistakes? Of course. But you have to take all factors into consideration, and we can immediately say, okay, we shut down tomorrow. But then the domino effect that has on certain individuals' lives, we have to also take that into consideration, because the same individuals then would be coming for support, but the portal closed off for the SSRP already. So all these things you have to factor in and make a sound decision that is beneficial for all. And at the same time, urging the public to take also their own responsibility in terms of safety measures, because each and every individual on this island has a responsibility to make sure that we mitigate the spread. So I just wanted to put that in there so that you can get a broad understanding as to why the decision was made for a week away from today. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister.
Yes. And if I may have the opportunity to echo my colleague ministers on that, I just want to give an example of what law enforcement faces as well as the controllers face. Well, we are scaling back the time to 12. What we experienced in the first wave of putting precautionary enforcement in place was that businesses would literally bring down or close their doors, bring down their shutters, and they're still partying inside, still socializing inside. And then when enforcement is seeking to be able to ensure that we protect our economy and protect our people, they are being accused of everything outside of the law. And, that is one of the challenges we see here. For some odd reason, St. Martin continues to be seen as a country or an island that is lawless. And when enforcement is being administered within our community, the very persons that are expected, which is the government and our various entities that are here to execute their work, they are being accused of everything under the sun, when all we are trying to do is to protect the people of this country. So on one end, we're being expected to do one thing, and on the other end, we are being accused of being everything unlawful. So we are asking the public to please work with us. We are asking the public to understand that we have a responsibility, but so do you. So let's join together, let's unify on this, and let's protect this country and the people of this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, Deputy Prime Minister Duran, and Minister De Wever once again. We now move on to the second round of questions. BB Hotshaw, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Again, I'm going to pose my question to the Minister of TIAT. Minister De Wever, I can say from last month, I've been getting a number of complaints. A lot of retailers that sell cooking gas and other fuel have been complaining about the constant increase in prices that are affecting them. These increases has been done by Parkland, which is Sol and Texaco that has merged. Now, Minister, what I want to ask you actually is who verifies the prices for fuel and propane gas when it is submitted to you? My understanding is these companies, for example, Parkland, would give you the prices, the adjustment or the decrease. And for the last month or so, we are having constant increase. Just yesterday, I think we had a minor decrease, but the increase we are seeing right now is propane gas. I mean, not everybody would need gasoline or diesel, but every single person needs cooking gas. And we have now the latest increase as much to $6 to $10 on a bottle. Who verify these prices? Because what we are seeing, while the retailers are getting an increased price on the propane gas, the actual wholesalers are selling at the same price. Creating some sort of competition towards wholesalers, which are taxpayers, businesses on the island, but these wholesalers cannot deliver house to house on a timely manner. So who exactly is verifying the increases that is submitted by the wholesalers?
Thank you, Ms. Hodshaw, for the clarification. It's actually very much related to the changes that have been happening very frequently with diesel, fuel prices, LPG prices, which are commodities. So they're basically subject to price adjustments on a very regular basis. What's been happening in the trend lately is that this has caused us to actually adjust pricing further. What we received from the Ministry of TIAT, they confirm and vet these prices because they are available publicly. For instance, you can get it from a subscription from a company such as Platts, Standard & Poor's, for all of that to verify that those prices are indeed live and current. So they are verified. It is unfortunate now that we're seeing in the last 3 months a continuous increase in those prices. What I will ask at the same time is that we continue to publish a summary of how the prices are affected, what we do to verify them, what the historical trend is in them. We have done that about 2 weeks ago, and I will request that the Ministry of TAC continues to do so from the policy department, especially to keep the public informed of why there are so many adjustments, why it's so frequent to see those changes. It is not strictly a government decision, it is a commodity decision. And that is the reality of it. But thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to clarify that. And I will have that discussion to make sure that the information is continuously published. Thank you, Ms. Hodgson.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown. You have the virtual floor.
Good morning again, and question to Minister DeWeaver. But within time, just a little minute to say my deepest condolences to Maurice Gomes, his family. Maurice Gomes has passed away. Okay, so let me get to the question. Minister DeWeaver, recently, our Dr. Holiday mentioned if you have underlying complaint, illnesses, before you take the vaccine, you should check your house doctor. Minister, is there any evidence that person with underlying illness took the vaccine, passed away? I'm not a doctor, Minister, but I'm familiar with the community very much. But so far, I heard the person with an underlying illness who took the vaccine, more than one person, they fell short. In other words, they passed away. Is there any verification, Minister, to this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for the question. You are absolutely correct. Before any individual actually takes any medicine that they are not usually used to taking, they need to verify with their GP, their house doctor, that they are good to take that medicine. That is to avoid, whether it's medicine, whether it's a vaccination, that is to avoid any unexpected reactions from combining medicines or taking a medicine. So that is one thing that the public needs to be aware of, that any doctor will advise a person to come and speak to them before they take the vaccine. When it comes to the information that you have just shared about a person passing away after being given the vaccine, I have received no confirmation of that. With all vaccines administered, there's a little bit of soreness in the arm and short-term reactions, maybe a fever, a slight fever, but that is normal with any vaccine that we take while our body builds up the strength to fight off that vaccine. So I have not received any confirmation that a person passed away. Bear in mind that when persons get their vaccines, they are monitored for about 15 to 20 minutes for any adverse reactions on location, on site. At the Vineyard Building or at Bel Air, they are monitored. They have access to call their house doctor, access to call CPS in case they start to feel sick, or they can call the hospital, show up at the emergency room. So I think that everything that we have in place for this vaccine rollout is very well done, and persons are being monitored very well. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Lyndon, for the question.
Yes. Would you, Minister, would you verify with CPS? Because I don't want to call him. I'm not in the position to call him, but can you verify with CPS and get some answer, please, Minister?
I will do so, Mr. Brown. But I did receive my update up until last night, just before midnight from CPS. So I will verify for you to see whether or not that is the case. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Once again, thank you, Lyndon. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Sokrin. You have the virtual floor.
Good. Thank you again, Rolika. Minister DeWeaver, question relating, I guess, to your capacity as acting Minister of Public Health at the moment. I'm curious if we have plans to further augment and wrap up or increase our vaccination program. You know, we're watched yesterday, we did just under 700 vaccines in a single day. And, bravo to all of the teams that made that happen. As demand continues to increase, will we look to further expand the vaccination platform, if you will?
Thank you for the question, Dr. Sakrin. The plan in the original vaccination planning or rollout was always to have 3 or 4 locations, especially locations that are in our communities, such as Dutch Quarter or Colby, KB area. Now, the actuality that actually taking place and happening is also dependent on the amount of registrations that we have happening. While we are welcoming persons to come in, as a walk-in at all of our sites, what is very important, and I will receive an update, is whether or not we actually roll out to centers such as the Dutch Quarter Community Center or in Colby, because I think the more that we get deeper into our communities, the more that we can actually get persons registered, get more persons vaccinated. And that is what we need, and what you've heard around the world for herd immunity is that most countries are looking at a 70% mark of vaccination before they can actually consider reducing any regulations they have on business hours or social activities and that sort of thing. So I will have an update on that soon. Minister Panafleck, like I mentioned earlier, will be back today. And I hope that we do have the opportunity to do that, because it was one of the things that we discussed as well in the meeting, the emergency CoM meetings over this long weekend. We were discussing that, in order for us to avoid and mitigate a similar situation on the island that is happening in our sister islands, that we ramp up our vaccine rollout, that we get more people in. The fact that you have 700 persons in one location in one day is absolutely incredible, when the northern side of the island is still struggling to get 1,500 vaccinated. So it's about us getting the message out to the public, especially those that have taken it, that this is one of those ways that we get back to normal faster, that we develop herd immunity, is by encouraging persons that feel safe to go and get vaccinated. Thanks, Dr. Stock.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver, and thank you, Dr. Sock. We now move on to the third and final round of questions. Bibi Hadshaw, you have the virtual floor.
Thank you, Relaika. I want to make a little statement before I ask my question. Kindly allow me, Relaika. I took the vaccine. I know my colleague, Dr. Sock, took the vaccine. And I'm quite sure there are other ministers. For example, Minister Doran, the Deputy Prime Minister, took the vaccine. We're all still alive. We did not have any major side effect. Right now, St. Martin needs our people to get vaccinated. We do not want to become like Curacao. So I am asking people also to go out there and get vaccinated. Stop this nonsense that they're listening and reading on social media. It's not helping us. Now to my question. Minister Samuel, Education Minister, please. Minister Samuel, this morning, and you're well aware of it because I published it, there is something very damning at one of our schools involving a non-teaching staff and another person that was arrested. Our students that are hardly having face-to-face examination since 2010, there are allegations that they were abused. But we're talking here now, most recently, since school reopened and during the lockdown, that led to the arrest of 2 people. Minister, can you kindly address this situation? This is not good news for parents and guardians on St. Martin.
Thank you, Bibi, for the comment and the question. First of all, I think you put a couple of things together. Since October, it was asked, and I have advised, that all students of exam classes would go back face-to-face, because we need to ensure that at least those vulnerable students and those are exam students does not build up, let us say, learning gaps. So that has taken place, and throughout the school year, we have moved from one approach to the other, depending on the level of active cases in the community. We have moved to approach 3, I think twice, and we have added to approach 3. the advice and recommendation that all schools would then use the space that they have optimally to make sure that more and more students return to face-to-face. We are happy for the change that took place by the Center for Disease Control, where they have advised that in school, we can move from 6 feet to 3 feet. And thus you have noticed that the advisory has gone out to all schools to now move to approach 4, where we adapt the advice from CDC, and we can now move to 3 feet. And if we go to 3 feet, we now can bring back basically, I think, nearly all the students, or if not, I think all the students. This is a very good situation that I would want to take place for a long time. The other situation you mentioned that regards the I think it is the St. Peter's campus, where an incident took place with a non-teaching staff. I have been informed about the situation, and I know that the competent authority, which is the school board, is handling the matter in a very responsible manner. And I have been informed of this, and I am aware that they are doing their work in a responsible way regarding this matter. And that is what I would like to say about that specific issue.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown. You have the virtual floor.
Good morning again. Question to Minister De Wever. Minister De Wever, we're gonna, my question based on hope. The people of St. Martin are distressed. A lot of people do not have a job. Food, in so much the Red Cross is distributing food, but there are some off balance. Minister, the ship will be home porting shortly in St. Martin. We want to speak about the economical stimulants. So give the people some hope. What will be the benefits for the people of St. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. The public should know that we have never had this level of home porting on St. Martin ever. We already have crew that's coming into the island that are occupying our hotels. Some hotels have already reported this weekend 85% occupancy because of the crew that are staying here in quarantine until they get transported to their ships. That is crew alone. When passengers start to travel, the island already has bookings for June. Passengers come to the island for anywhere between 2 to 3 days. They can come same day being transported, but that's revenue coming into our airport, revenue coming into our transportation companies, revenue coming into our hotels, our casinos, our nightlife, the same ones that we're trying to protect with this decision announcement that we're doing today. Revenue coming in to taxi drivers, to everything. So the effects of this are great. And this means that we actually have some hope, some comfort, and definitely some confidence in the fact that jobs will be back in front of us. Jobs will be created again because we are now increasing our numbers by this home porting opportunity that we have. Every Saturday, passengers will be coming into St. Martin, spending some days in St. Martin before they get on that ship for 1 week, returning a Saturday to fill another ship again. Do you understand that every week, this is the opportunities that we have as an island, which is why we need to make sure that we are safe for these next 2 months, because this sale is set to start on June 5th. So the island needs to remember this. We have, our hospitality sector has taken a huge hit like everywhere else in the world. Our capital, Phillipsburg, has taken a huge hit with the retailers. Everyone has taken a huge hit. This is an opportunity for us to keep things together, keep things under control so that we can actually see a better time in June. Unprecedented home porting that we have never had in the summertime, in hurricane season, with the possibility that if this works well, we have a second boat coming. That's what the public needs to know. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Somebody mentioned recently about.
Unfortunately, Mr. Brown, you were able to ask your question, and we do need to continue as we are running short on time. Unfortunately, if you would like to ask Minister DeWeaver that question, please do so in writing. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Sokrin of Isle 92 Radio. You have the final question.
Thank you, Rolika, once again. Minister Samuel, I'd like to revisit a topic, if we might, that we spoke about. It's got to be several months ago now, and it's a warm and fuzzy question. And I know that we've come a long way from where we were in October, November, December with our students. How are our kids doing in school? I mean, you hear stories in the international media, you know, about everyone, the students feeling behind and struggling in the classroom. How are we doing? How are our young people doing academically? How are things progressing in the classroom?
Thank you, Dr. Sokrin, for that question. The assessment on how the students are doing is taking place with, at the end, we will have a school report on especially those exam students in the primary section, and the non-exam students, the information gathering in regards to what are the levels and the possible gaps, that is also being done. I don't have the final report at this moment, but I know the information gathering is taking place, and as soon as this is done and the data is processed, I will release the information regarding this.
Thank you, Minister.
Yeah.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, and thank you, Dr. Sock, for the question. Members of the Media Council of Ministers, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Members of the media, if you were unable to ask your question, please feel free to send your questions in writing to the respective ministers' cabinets. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. For rebroadcast, tune in to St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV channel 115. For video on demand, be sure to log in to the government's official website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.